My name is Pietruszewski. I'm from Argyle, Minnesota. Lived here most of my life. Enlisted in the Army in December of '84. Went into basic training in June of '85.
Where'd you go?
Fort Polk, Louisiana.
How'd you get there?
I got on a bus. Well, actually, the recruiter came and picked me up at my home, and I watched both my parents cry. My dad did not want me to go in, and he brought me to, I think he brought me to Crookston, and got on a bus to Crookston and went to Fargo to the MEP station. And from Fargo we flew to St. Louis, and from St. Louis a bus trip to Fort Polk, Louisiana, and we were there for about 4 days before we started basic training. And
June, it must have been a little warm, huh?
it was really warm.
Humid too?
Humidity 80, 90, 100%. It was, I don't mind the heat and the cold, so it didn't bother me, but some people just couldn't take it. Basic was okay. I learned a lot.
What's some of the things you did in basic?
Oh, lots of marching, lots of testing, learning about safety. And
What was your MOS?
I was a 63 Whiskey, which is a wheel vehicle mechanic. So after basic training, I went to Aberdeen Proving Grounds, Maryland, where that was a 4-month course. And
Did they fly you there then?
flew there, yep. After basic, I got to go home again because my AIT didn't start till the week after, so I got a 7 days break between AIT and basic training, which most people don't get. That was kind of nice to come home, and came home right in time for harvest and got right in the combine during right after basic training, and then flew off to Baltimore, Maryland.
So you flew from here to Maryland?
Yep, from Grand Forks to Maryland.
Okay.
And training there was fun. Coming from a farm background, I had no problems with
Did you request that MOS?
yes, I did.
How many years did you enlist for?
I enlisted originally for 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah. I wanted that MOS because it had to do with mechanics, basically. I knew stuff about diesel engines in the first place, coming from a farm, and to me, AIT was a breeze. Other guys, they couldn't hardly turn a wrench, and I would take something apart and put it back together. Somebody else would take it apart and I'd put it back together. And when it came to our final test, I had to install an injection pump on a diesel engine, and our instructor told me that I was going to do it because I had such an easy time with it, and he knew that the engine would start when I got done. So I've always been handy with my hands, and I really enjoyed the mechanics in the Army. And
Okay.
from there I went to Fort Polk, Louisiana.
Back to Fort Polk.
Well, actually, oh boy, you're gonna have to edit this. I didn't go to Fort Polk for basic training. I went to Missouri, Fort Leonard Wood.
Leonard Wood.
Boy,
Okay.
I got this all goofed up now.
No, you're all, no, it's fine. It's fine.
I went to Fort Leonard Wood. That's where I went, yep, for basic.
And
But-
same thing, hot and humid.
Hot and humid, yep. But Fort Polk, I was there at my duty station for 5.5 years. And
So you re-upped?
yes, I ended up getting married in the Army after just about 4 years in. I re-upped for 2. And the reason I got out is they kept telling me I was overweight and had to test me to see how much fat content I had. And I had no trouble doing any of the physical work or the PT or anything like that, but every month. And then I also wanted to send me to Korea, and I had just newly gotten married, so I did not want to go to Korea alone.
So by re-upping, you stayed out of Korea?
Yeah.
Okay. So you were 4 years at Fort Polk.
5.5 total.
5.5 years at Fort. What'd you do there the whole time?
Well, lots of training. I was a mechanic for about 3 different departments. Went to the National Training Center in California 4 times. That's a month long each time. And
Trained for?
wartime. It's desert training.
Okay.
In Fort Irwin, California. So I was there 4 times. luckily, that's in the desert near Nevada, and every time I was there was either November, December, or January. So it was never hot. Well, I never seen them 120 degrees, but I saw snow in the desert.
Yeah.
So that was a little different. And when I had first gotten to Fort Polk after about the first year, my company had gotten sent to Panama, and about half the company got sent to Panama, and I wasn't on that half. And they were after Noriega, and they caught Noriega on Christmas Eve of '86, I believe. And
Noriega was held up in his house,
yep.
threatening and doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, and they caught him. He was a bad drug lord or whatever, kind of the head of Panama there. And so they caught him on this Christmas Eve. And so the rest of my company didn't have to go, and the ones that were there came back 2 weeks later. But so I didn't go to Panama. And then at the end of my career, the Gulf War happened. And we were getting all ready to go to the Gulf War. We had all our equipment on the whole post. I was at the 5th Infantry Division at Fort Polk.
This is around 1990 then, huh?
Yes, 1990, yep. Fall of 90, or summer of 90, and is when it all kind of started. And we had all our equipment painted, desert camouflage, because it was all green, of course, in Louisiana. So everything on the whole post was painted. So we had it all painted, put on a ship in Houston. We drove all that stuff to Houston, got it on ships, and we sat there for 2 months with nothing to do. No equipment to look at, no equipment to work on. And 3 times we were sent like we were leaving. We went to the
Port.
Yeah.
Same thing, go
Yeah.
back to Houston every time? Or?
No, we didn't go to Houston. We just went to our gymnasium on post, and they had 1,000 people sitting in the gymnasium on their duffel bags, waiting for buses to come and pick us up, because the closest Air Force base was 60 miles away, and that's where they would have sent us out of Alexandria, Louisiana was the Air Force base at that time. And so we sat on our bags for about 12 hours waiting for buses to come. Never happened. Then they sent us home.
Hurry up and wait.
Hurry up and wait, exactly. So probably a week or two later, back to the gymnasium again. Well, this time we're going for sure. Sat there for 12 hours. Never came and picked us up. It was just a drill. We didn't know this. We thought we were leaving for Desert Storm, and didn't happen. Go home again, and then we were watching it all on TV as the Air Force, the Army, and the Marines all attacked, and 100 and some hours later, and the war was over, and we went and got our equipment off the ships and brought it back to post, and 2 months later I was out of the Army.
You said you were married while you were in the Army?
Yes, I
Did
was.
you live on post or off post?
I lived on post.
On
First
post?
off post in a house in Leesville, Louisiana, and then I got housing on post, and I had 2 kids while I was in the Army.
And what was the housing like while you were on post?
I would say the housing was from the 60s at the time, but Fort Polk was really growing. We had about 10,000 soldiers on post at the time when I got there, and when I left it was closer to 20,000, and now it's a very small post. It's all moved to Fort Sam Houston, the 5th Infantry Division. So now they're a very small post again.
And while you were there, I suppose they were building up for Desert Storm?
Yes, they were building up for Desert Storm, but they were building housing like crazy. Probably 10 years after I got out of the service, I had gone back to Louisiana, and I went on post, and I drove around, and I saw my old barracks, and I went in the old housing area, and the newest housing they had sold to the city of Leesville because they didn't need all that housing, and so it's a whole housing development for civilians now.
Okay, yeah. So you got out of the service, you're mustered out at Fort Polk?
Yep, I sure did. I got out.
And then
I was married, and I drove a car up here. I had resumes all written out, and I started passing out resumes for mechanic work all the way from Fargo to Hallock. And I got a job in Crookston at a Case IH dealership and worked there for 6 years. And really enjoyed that too.
Okay. And from there, 6 years later, you...
6 years later, my father had passed away at a young age, and I came back to the farm, and I've been farming for the last 25 now.
Last 25 years you've been farming.
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Is there anything about the military that you wish you'd have done different, or?
Everybody always says how much they hate it when they're in, and I did too, but I really enjoyed it. Maybe there's a lot of bureaucracy nowadays, but to me it was a learning experience, a growing up experience. I don't think I would have done anything different. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I could have ever stayed in for 20 years, but I don't regret it a bit. I think every high schooler should go, truthfully, for 2 years.
You're not the first one to say that.
I really believe that.
Anything else you want to add, Chad?
No, I don't think so. That's kind of my life in a nutshell.
Okay. Well, thanks for doing this interview, Chad. You're well respected in the community, and just thanks for doing this.
Well, thank you.